Coming up on today's Locked On Nuggets, I'll tell you why Cam Johnson has to play better, but not right now. That's next on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day, making this your first listen, being an everydayer. We do appreciate you guys supporting us, supporting the show, and checking out with us Monday through Friday through all of our different shows, all of our post-game shows, all of our special episodes. We try and bring you the best Nuggets coverage we possibly can, and we do appreciate everybody's support. We appreciate everybody at Ball Arena coming up and saying hi. Really appreciate you guys and your support, whether you're listening on podcast, where we do appreciate 5-star reviews, or at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, where you can join the show and leave us comments live that we often respond to. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Matt Moore. I've been covering the Denver Nuggets as a credential reporter for 13 seasons. I'm the senior NBA writer at the Action Network. I am the co-host of Locked On NBA Daily every day in the afternoon around 11:30 Mountain Time. And I write the Denver Dig, where I had thoughts the other day, and we'll have more thoughts based off of tomorrow night's game versus the Heat, as well as I finally finished up the interview with Ryan Bowen that I'll be putting up as he is the new head coach of the Gold. I am joined by a very sick man, and not the way that's usually described. He's usually described that way. Ryan Blackburn is not well, but he is powering through because I can never get him to take 2 nights off. So Ryan Blackburn is under the weather, but he is with us here tonight from Mile High Sports, credential reporter for Mile High Sports, and the host of the Pickaxe and Roll podcast, which just crossed 900 episodes. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Don't come up to me at the game tomorrow, folks. I might give you the Black Death. That's something that may or may not happen. But if I'm not there, then go say hi to Matt.
I'm going to stress to you to not do that. Not come to the game. Just stay home. Please, no. Please, I don't want to get sick. All right. On today's show, we're going to talk about Cam Johnson a little bit. I want to talk about Peyton Watson. I want to talk about Julian Strother. We're going to talk about those guys here for a change of pace. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Heat game. We'll get Ryan's thoughts off of the Kings game as well. Glad to have you guys with us. All right. Let's start here, Ryan.
Yes, sir.
So I talked to Cam Johnson after the game, and he talked a lot about his comfort, and he mentioned the same thing that Jokic mentioned, which is the biggest thing with him right now is his hesitancy is built off of not wanting to screw things up. And I think especially when I think about a shooter, this is such a big part of this. Shooting is a mechanical activity. The precision on your elbow placement and your hips and like all of the stuff that the shooting coaches work on is very important. But it's also very much a confidence and feel thing. And I think if you're not confident in what you're supposed to be doing, even if you're like, I'm going to shoot, that hesitation kind of messes with you. And this is why Tim Hardaway Jr. has been really good for the Nuggets, because Tim's like, yeah, I don't care about all your secondary actions or whether we're running a split cut into a dive or a Spain pick and roll. I'm going to shoot the ball now and just going to do that. Jokic, I keep thinking back to the LeBron talking about telling Kevin Love to fit out and not fit in, because Jokic was like, I think he's a little scared of screwing up, like making a mistake. And I understand that, because if you're looking at this offense and you're just like, God, we're a beast. What, I don't want to get in the way of this. I don't want to be the one that holds that back, because Cam is like a little bit more of a cerebral player.
Right.
And you don't have to be a cerebral player to play in the Jokic system, and you don't have to be a cerebral player to have a very good role and put up points in it. The key, I think, is if you're wondering like, well, why do we really need this? The idea is centrally that when Cam gets acclimated, it's going to make things easier for Aaron, Christian, Jamal, and Nikola, so that Nikola doesn't have to do as much as last year, that he can maybe still score, but it doesn't have to be him bodying and scoring through 3 guys. And like, that's the opportunity that's there. But at the same time, like, there will come a point this season when, as much as like we've preached the patience part of it. David Adelman has said 10 games. I've said 45 days. There will come a point where it's like, look, man, if Cam's not shooting well, like, it just hasn't worked out because he's just not making shots.
Sure.
And that's a problem. I really like the way he played, but on some level, I can go too far in the other direction and just be like, impact versus you got to, like, you're a starter. You have to score and rebound and assist and do these things. Like, you just have to make the bucket. You have to make the jump shot coming off of the DHO. Like, you just got to make it. Right. And we argued about that last year, but like, it's just true. Like, you just have to. I think 10 games in will be an interesting test, like, place. It's not like it's 10 games, the 11th game, you better have 20 or it's a failure. But that's going to be like an important marker. For me, I do think, though, like, I want to see where he's at Christmas. That's really where I want to see where Cam Johnson's going to be at. And again, I don't think he's playing terribly. I just think that's kind of like the curve of where we're going to have to judge him on.
He's not playing terribly. I think there were a lot of plays in that Kings game that really stood out in terms of how cerebral he was and what the Kings were trying to accomplish in that fourth quarter comeback. He was one of the only guys that was able to contest on the perimeter in, I thought, a reasonable, legal, and consistent way. And that's something that's not going to get talked about because the Nuggets gave up 124. So it's one of those details that you file it away. It's one of the just one thing. And so many people are going to be locked in on the 3-point shooting. I kind of compare it to Alex Caruso. And I know that that's not the right comparison because they're completely different players, but I'm talking about the types of roles that they play and the cerebral nature.
You're going to make people so mad with this go. I'm so excited for this go.
It's great. So Alex Caruso, when he started with OKC early on last year, could not hit anything. The dude was horrible from three. And I got back and forth, I think, with Matt on it because I think he's a good shooter. I think he is just one of those guys that you can trust out there, and it's easy and repeatable. And then against the Nuggets, he shot enough and made some big buckets, and then made some big buckets down the stretch of the season for them. But all the while the buckets were not happening, the defense was. The cerebral offensive plays were. The details and the screening actions, the hustle, the ways that the team became smarter really manifested, and it made OKC better. It helped them grow up in real time. Like they were a team that was so talented, but they needed an adult in the room to help kind of coalesce things at some points and really push them over the top. And so Cam Johnson, to me, represents an adult in the room who right now is still struggling to figure out exactly how his cerebral nature can really impact the game. Once he gets into it, and then once he stops thinking, once it's less about the thinking aspect and more about, hey, let's just put out what we practice here, he's going to start making these open threes. These are wide open shots and they're in rhythm. And the problem that they've really come from is the fact that they've been on such great action with the Nuggets offense on so many occasions that the ball finds him in a wide open scenario where everybody's ready to get excited, and then it bricks. And it actually hasn't been very close lately. So it's going to happen. He'll figure it out. But so far, it's going to take some time.
How about you guys stop crying about Cam and instead back our small forward?
Isn't that what we're doing?
I think he's on the other comments because
okay.
Hurricane, as usual, is pitching a fit.
Mm-hmm.
Cam, this is an interesting data point. It's too early to tell much from this stuff, but it is an interesting data point. I looked up cleaning the glass. They've got half court defense plus minus. Now his half court offense plus minus is horrific, as you'd imagine, for a guy shooting like that. He's got the second best half court defense plus minus on the team. He's minus 7.9, which is right behind. It's second behind Gordon, by the way, which is minus 13.8.
Shout out AG. He's who could have imagined that he'd have a really strong defensively impactful season coming back from injury and being young.
So yeah, I want to talk about Peyton Watson here before we get a break.
Okay.
No, we'll talk about Peyton Watson after that. Coming up, we'll talk about Peyton Watson. I want Ryan's thoughts on his game versus the Kings, where he's at, and how difficult it is with a player who's so talented but still seems to vacillate so much between his being present and not. We'll talk about that coming back on Locked On Nuggets. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. And, of course, not just NBA. You can get in on NFL. Get those red-hot Denver Broncos as they take on the Las Vegas, I have to check myself on that, Raiders on Thursday night. Seems like a great spot for them. Home teams do very well on Thursday nights. They're still dogs to win the division over that other team. And I think that's crazy given the lead that they have. What could possibly go wrong? It keeps every game exciting when you're live betting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 back in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're also brought to you today by Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatment for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. And if prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. You want to be safe, you want to be discreet, you want to have peace of mind, and that's what Rougiette provides. Visit Rougiette.com, RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA to get 15% off your first order. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rougiette, stop making excuses and start making moves. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets.
We would never, ever jinx the Broncos here, huh?
We would never do that. The
Never.
show's called No Jinx. We wouldn't do that. So I want to ask you about Peyton Watson. So I thought that Monday's game was the first one where I thought Peyton got a little bit like last year where he was freelancing a little bit and taking some shots a little bit outside of the context of what they were trying to accomplish. Now, some of that's like if they're running the second unit without Jamal, then he's going to have more opportunities. But like step back threes, I don't think are really what you want to see from Peyton. I think he can get there, but that's like, hey, in the course of a really good game, he also hit a step back three rather than like my first shot make is going to be this type of shot. He is still so impactful on defense, which is why he's in the rotation and will continue to be in the rotation and probably needs to close some games if they're facing those fast guards because he's really the only guy I think that can do it.
Yeah.
But I am kind of curious about your thoughts on the fact that it doesn't seem like you do not know what you can count on from Peyton Watson from a box score perspective every night. I feel like you can actually get a pretty good sense for Bruce. Like it's not going to be a lot, but you're going to get.
I don't agree. And so the big reason why is because I don't think you can you know what you can expect from anybody except for Valanciunas, any single person. The reason why is because Denver's offense, when it is with that second unit, you know that Murray's going to be out there, but sometimes he's going to be setting the table. Sometimes he's going to be looking for his own shot. He's the first option. Valanciunas is the second option or vice versa. And sometimes Tim Hardaway is going to get hot. Sometimes Bruce Brown is going to be really impactful and getting into passing lanes and maybe even getting into some slashes and cuts and things like that. There are a lot of times where Peyton Watson is the fifth option with that group. And I don't know if that's the right call, but it's the way that it manifests sometimes. And it's something, especially when Julian Strawther gets in there, I think that the pecking order gets a little bit weird for somebody like Peyton, who I think is thinking about those things now, is thinking about, hey, if I don't take any shots for like this first half, what am I going to do? How am I going to be impacting the game on the offensive end if I'm just kind of standing in the corner and cutting occasionally? So he I think, as a young player, still the youngest player on the team outside of maybe Deron Holmes. It doesn't surprise me that he gets a little bit squirrely like that and just needs to have a play drawn up for him every now and then.
Yeah, I just feel like Bruce is and the numbers are pretty similar. Like Bruce is averaging 6.7 points per game. Peyton's averaging 6. Bruce is averaging 4.3 rebounds per game. Peyton's averaging 2.7. Bruce is rebounding the ball really well, by the way, and that's really important, honestly, for their offense. I just feel like there are more stretches where Peyton is just there on offense versus where Bruce does. And it's like, well, Bruce has the ball, but so is Peyton. Like, they're giving Peyton these opportunities with the ball some. Like, I think he's got a little bit more. And I just feel like you'd like to see some level of he's good for X, Y, and Z on the offensive end to build off of that, to get him where he wants to go.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I completely agree with that and completely think that as the Nuggets work into this season and try to figure out like this, a lot of this bench unit was going to be about the pecking order and figuring out who impacts what, who can handle the ball. We found that Bruce Brown does a pretty good job of handling the basketball at times here. Hasn't really turned the ball over that much so far this season. 0.8 turnovers per game. Peyton Watson's up to 1.2. Tim Hardaway, by the way, 1 turnover on the season so far. That dude is shooting, and he's shooting well. Been nice to watch. And I think that's like every single time, like this team is going to be about sacrifice with that second unit. Like there are so many opportunities for those starters to come back in and stagger. And like at times you're going to have Aaron Gordon come in for Peyton Watson, or Peyton's going to play the 3. And then you're going to adjust his role a little bit. And maybe he closes at some points if he's playing well, but he is going to be the one kind of variable on a team that is full of veterans that you know what to expect. And that can be a good thing. Like he gives them the juice that I think that they're looking for. But it also, you're going to have a lot of nights like you're talking about where kind of really doesn't know where to find it. And as a result, it looks pretty bad.
Bruce had an interesting comment the other day, which is after the game, he was talking about how the second unit's still getting used to one another. He said, especially, he's like, we really haven't been out there with Julian at all, but we're trying to work him in, is what he said. Now that might just be like work him in spurts or minute, but do you want to see Julian we had talked about like a 10-man rotation, 10-11. Do you want to see Julian Strother in the rotation more just to provide a little bit of buffer, a little bit of get through, maybe a little bit of offense? The defenses, I'm not going to argue here. I am just kind of curious about your thoughts on like, do they need Julian Strother in the rotation? Not even if they don't need him strongly, but just like, yeah, it'd be good to have him.
I think they do need the 5 minutes every now and then. I think that's because that's basically the role that he played in this last game, right? He came in, I'm pretty sure he hit a 3. I might be crossing my wires on that one, but like he came in, did some pretty good things, didn't do anything crazy, was a -4 in 7 minutes, but that was in an all bench lineup in the first half, and then he didn't play in the second half. And so that allowed for Jamal Murray, who's dealing with this calf injury, to only play 32 minutes as opposed to close to 37 or 38 or somewhere in that general range, which he would have played had he played those extensive first half minutes. So I do think that you need somebody like that, and you need as many like scoring threats as you can possibly get to take pressure off of these guys. And because you never know who's going to have it going on a given night. And too many times, if you put, like, let's say Jamal is not having a good game. Like he didn't have a great game on Monday. I don't think it was fine. It was okay. If you have that kind of game and then he has it multiple times in a row, and at some point you're going to get caught with that second unit, and they're going to give up a -15, a -20, a -25, somewhere in that crooked number, because it's going to be at the same time where a whole bunch of other guys don't really play well offensively either. It's just bound to happen. So having another shooter out there is a good idea. and also keeping him on a leash in terms of, hey, you don't have to rely on it and you need it for 20 to 25 minutes. That is also a good thing. So I think he's in the right role right now. And as he continues to earn more time, it will be for the right reasons.
What did you not think that Jamal did well on Monday?
I thought that so the lack of 3-point shooting, I do think matters. I think that he is uncomfortable out on the 3-point line right now. It's something that I notice when he is dealing with injuries, especially the lower leg injuries. Like, he likes to navigate. He takes his time. It slows down a little bit. He's dribbling a lot, and he likes to do the pump faking thing, trying to get some guys off balance and then draw some fouls, things like that. So I don't think he's at his best, certainly physically right now. And I think that slows down that particular offense. And but for the most part, like, he did a reasonable job setting the table. He didn't stagger with the second unit in the first half of that game. But I thought that, like, if there was somebody who got a little bit loose with the ball at times, it was Jamal with the starters.
Interesting. I thought he was great. I thought he was terrific. I really praise him a lot. He's averaging 6.6 3-point attempts, which is the most he has shot since 2021. So, like, I don't know. Interesting. Okay. Coming up, we'll talk about the Heat game. I want to get Ryan's thoughts on overall about the Kings game in like 30 seconds there as well. And we'll wrap up here on Locked On Nuggets. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. You would not be surprised. If you're thinking about starting a small business, you will be shocked at the process of payroll and what it can entail. This is a huge feature. Gusto's automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits are going to save you hours every week. Just not having to deal with these little tasks is going to free you up to focus more on your business. And knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you real peace of mind. Try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnba and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnba. One more time, that's Gusto, GUSTO.com/lockedonnba. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. But did he do the shooty hoops is what he has. I'm trying really hard not to do that. I thought maybe there was something in your analysis that was like
it. I could also be pretty fuzzy. Basically what I said about that game was that if that's going to be his low point for the season, the Nuggets are going to be really freaking good. Yeah. So like that's kind of where I'm at. Like it wasn't like he did anything bad.
No,
I just was.
I'm more meant.
I thought it was unremarkable.
I kind of wanted your 30-second take on that game in general for the Nuggets.
Yeah. The Nuggets backcut the Kings to absolute oblivion in that game. Yeah. The Kings are a horrid defense, but the Nuggets are specifically geared with Gordon's size, Christian's backcutting in size and athleticism, and Jokic just being the best maestro of passing lanes that the league has really ever seen. Like, the Kings were always going to give up 130 points, and they could have given up 150 if the Nuggets ever shot an open three and made it. They actually shot a lot of them, but they didn't make a lot of them. I think that Denver is in line to score 140 plus points in one of their next 3 home games. I actually said 2 on Pickaxe. I just think that they are clicking on all cylinders. The offense is so smart, and it reminded me of the games last year where they knew their offense was good enough and they didn't care enough on the defensive end.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a real challenge for them. I talked to the guys in the locker room about that, and they all are kind of like there's a little bit of a letdown because the game comes so easy right now. One thing I really hate that analysts will do is say they're this good and X, Y, and Z hasn't even started yet. As if nothing will get worse from from what's good now. No one will get injured, and also that it's just like additive. It's like they're scoring 120, and this guy's coming back and he averages 20, so they're going to score 140. And that's not how basketball works.
Yeah.
But what I will say is when the Nuggets maybe struggle a bit, I think you will see some of the guys that have had harder times maybe bump up, like whether it's Cam. Christian, I thought was really great versus the Kings. He was a good bounce back performance from him offensively. Like maybe the defense gets better, like those kind of fixes. Let's talk about the Heat game, which I think is super interesting.
Yeah.
So they're playing at a nuclear pace. They have Noah Roche from the Grizzlies last year who runs no ball. This is interesting. They run no ball screens. Like they are not running any no screens.
All right.
They are it is run, read, shoot. That's it. So this is going to be a real test for that Nuggets transition defense, which has been a lot better this year. Their half-court offense has gotten a lot better. It was struggling. It's actually up to 6th best in the league on cleaning the glass.
Yeah.
The key here that I think that's interesting is the Nuggets have said they kind of want to run at home and slow it down on the road. And I don't know if you want to do that versus this team. I think you really want to make them uncomfortable by running your half-court offense, scoring on them, and then setting your defense so that you're not as good as their transition defense has been. I think it's not great to let the Heat set the pace in this game. What do you think?
The running thing for Denver specifically is just so opportunistic. Like it has to be about, hey, we've generated enough stops here. Christian's leaking out. Jokic is going to pass it over the top. And then, okay, that's a touchdown. Or, hey, Jamal, and like he gets a rebound out to the foul line. They have a 3-on-2. They find a perimeter 3-point shooter, and that goes down. It is not going to be an extensive thing with that starting group. Maybe with the bench group, it's a little bit better because you've got Bruce, you've got Peyton, you've got Tim Hardaway Jr. and Julian Strawther potentially running the wings looking for 3-point shots. But there's also slow down opportunities for Jonas Valanciunas, who, by the way, Jonas was great looking for his own offense and the Nuggets looking for him in that Kings game as well. Between him and Joker, like there's nobody on the Heat that is going to be able to really bother them in the post. Like Bam is really great switching on the perimeter, but I just don't think that if they spread it out that he's going to be able to do much with them. But that's not really even going to be their thing. Like with Joker, it's really just like they're going to run a lot of what they did against the Kings because the rest of that team is pretty undersized from that perspective. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. I do kind of agree with you that half court's probably the way to go in this particular matchup. What do you think about? Do you change the rotation up at all? Or do you just kind of keep running the same stuff? Because it feels like running the same stuff, getting Julian out there in the first half, seeing how he plays, and probably not playing him in the second half is the right way to go.
I think you need to get more sample on what you're doing now. That's genuinely just where I'm at, is like you just need to figure out, you need to get a sample on what works with the bench, what combos are working and which ones aren't before you make any sort of decisions on changes. This is a really hard thing, is you don't want things like, oh, Jonas Valanciunas is a -12 because they were -7 in the last minute that he was out there. So we got to like change something without giving it time to stabilize. And one, for guys to figure out how to play better together, but two, to even understand like what is it that's causing the problem. So you got to have a big enough sample. So I think for now, you keep everything the same.
Okay.
I don't think you change anything. I don't think you make any adjustments in this game. Adam had a really interesting comment post game. It was a really interesting press day when you weren't there.
Probably connected in so many ways.
Adelman said he ran Yoke a little bit more in the post in this game versus the Kings because of the matchup and how they were defending and the opportunity there. But he said, like, sometimes we really do kind of like to keep him out of that. And he goes more for the pick and pop on the 3-pointer. Like, we like that because it saves his body over the course of the season. And that, I think, is just like an interesting thing to kind of keep in mind. It's just like, how much does it take out of Nikola to work the post? And
This is why when people are complaining about Jokic's usage, I could not care less about what you have to say. Like, the Nuggets have so many things that they are trying to work through and identify and figure out, okay, what is this mechanism? Does this work? This mechanism doesn't work. They'll be able to spam the Jokic post button and Jokic touches button in the middle of the paint every single game in the second half of the season if they want to. They won't want to because, like you said, they're going to try to save him and they're going to try to save his body throughout the year. I just think that Jonas is a good opportunity to slow it down. He wants to body people. Like, you want to trust that for the 82 games. And he's only playing like 12 to 13 minutes a game for the most part. With Joker, if he's going to play 35, yeah, you can't go to the post so often. Like, there's just no reason to. And the back cuts are working. So why?
Yeah. Okay. That's going to do it for Locked On Nuggets. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll be back on a post-game show tomorrow night after the Nuggets game versus the Heat. It is presumably Ryan, but we'll see. We'll see how he's doing and how knocked up on high on NyQuil he is.
That's what we're doing next. Let's go, baby.
So we'll see how he's doing tomorrow night. Feel better, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Love the comments tonight. You guys are all psychos in the comments. Leave us a 5-star review. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.
It was a weird comment that just came through.